Welcome to the Round 1 Team Sheets rundown video. It is George from Fantasy Take TV. We'll also go over Richmond versus Carlton. But yeah, how good is footy to have it back? I thought the Carlton versus Richmond game was pretty average, I thought. But yeah, always interesting to see a draw. But we got thrown some massive curveballs with in the team sheets with Will Phillips emergency. I think he's been in basically everyone's team for the entire preseason. We lost Toby McLean. I think, yeah, even like McLean and Phillips both looked pretty iffy in their practice games. And then if you had Hayden Crozier, we lost him as well. So I was somewhat interested in him if structure pointed me in that direction. But unfortunately, we got that news before round 1 rather than before while we had started those players. But we'll touch on those throughout the video, and yeah, a few last minute changes that we can make. So just quickly, my team at the moment, I try and post my updates on Twitter. If I don't do a video in terms of my team, I've always liked keeping everything public. But I've got brought in Hollands for Will Phillips, and I got $0 in the bank. So I did a quick DM to AFL Draft Expert who helped me out here. I was like, do I go McVee? Do I go Hollands? And he said Hollands. So I thought Hollands played pretty well. On a wing, works really hard. He was always deep defense helping out. Then he was running up the ground, so he was getting back really hard. So I think he will hold his spot even with Walsh. I think maybe Jack Martin was pretty average. Do they keep playing Ed Curnow? Maybe Kennedy and Walsh can rotate half forward instead of kicking Hollands off the wing. But yeah, I think we'll start. But nonetheless, yeah, we'll touch on that after. But we'll touch on Richmond in terms of the players that I noticed. Dan Rioli was really good. Really good. He looked like a defender premium. Just looked fitter and more confidence. He looked outstanding. So certainly not one I'd jump on early, but one to monitor with a bit more data. But yeah, he looked very impressive. Short was wing half back. So it's an interesting one. I think he'll get defender status based on that. So one to keep an eye on. But they've got Baker down there as well. They've got Vlossen takes kick in. So there's a lot going on down there. Yeah, probably was a bit underdone as well. So I don't think he's relevant this year. Just interesting though that they're using him in a different way now. Dusty started pretty well. Taranto was pretty good. Nank was pretty good too. Solo rucking. So I think he's top 6 ruck, around the lower end of that. Taranto was pretty good. A lot of the hat kicks out of stoppage. Yeah, that's sort of what he does. But I think he's their most important mid by a mile, and he's their best mid by a mile. He sticks out a lot. So happy to have him, and yeah, it looks like a good pick. The disposal might hurt him for sure. Might be the lower end of top 6, depending on who gets DPP. But yeah, happy with that pick. Hopper looked terrible, and yeah, we saw signs of this in the practice games and all of last year. So I think we just hoped for pre-season. Hopefully he just comes good, but he hasn't come good. So I'll give him another week. Plays Collingwood next week, but then plays the Dogs after that. And I dare say if he doesn't do well against Collingwood, I'll flick him. If there's better opportunities available, because he's failed the eye tests for a good year now. So yeah, is it reactionary? Yeah, maybe, but we'll see. I'm not happy with what I saw, but I guess the role will continue being good and he will make some money. It's just how good are the opportunities out there to want to move him on. So yeah, just if you fail the eye test, I think it's worth talking about, but at least the role is still good. Moving on to Carlton. Cowan was decent, had a few nice intercepts, probably a bit lucky as well, but looked to be minding his man a bit more, not really trying to get free ball all that much. So he's a bench only for mine, and he was subbed in the 4th quarter. Was getting his hamstrings worked on or something like that, but didn't have any ice on it, so just monitor that. Doc was pretty good. Standard game from Doc. Kicked a really nice goal, so happy with that pick. I think he'll be top 6 again. Spoke about Hollands before. Cripps scored 120, which surprised me because I didn't think he looked that good. But nonetheless, he scored well. And their forward line, no real relevance here. Hewitt was pretty good. Started really well. And then, yeah, nothing much on interchange there. So that's sort of my review of that game. I just monitor Jacob Hopper. I think he'll make money, but he just he just keeps failing the eye test. So, but the numbers were pretty good in practice game too, I guess, the contested ball. So, and Carlton is a difficult matchup. So, it's probably the only knee-jerk reaction I think out of that game, but I'll see how we go. Geelong versus Collingwood. In Tanner Bruin, Ollie Henry, and in for Collingwood, Dan McStay, Bobby Hill, and Titch. So looking at Geelong here, not much to tell down back. So Radicalea, looks like they're running the two tolls to Koning and Radicalea. Stewart is not a key defender, contrary to people saying that sometimes. So I think Radicalea, I think they'll back him in, especially with no Henry. Holmes, Blitzarves and Tui. I wonder, got Stanley as well, so I wonder how much they use Blitzarves through the CBAs. That might affect Bruin a little bit. Forward line's like whatever. The only real relevant one here is, well, no Jack Bowes and Tanner Bruin named on the interchange. That doesn't really change anything for me. So I'm a big fan of what he was able to do in the preseason. I think we get solid inside mid-time. We know they rotate their mids pretty heavily, so I'm not expecting like a 70%. I'm hoping for like a 50 to 60%. He definitely looks good enough, and yeah, he's kept Parfit out the team, which is good. Moving on to Collingwood, so Nick Dacos at halfback. I think we'll see him more halfback for the time being. Look at the mids. They got Crisp, they got Adams. Might be a bit more half forward though. The Dacos, Josh can run through there. Pendles can run through there. Like pitch half forward, like into Goey. They'll run through there heaps. So there's a lot of names that can go through there. So I think Dacos will be an okay pick, but I'm not quite sure he can provide us with what we want in terms of like 100 plus. Given the tags and the less mid-time as expected. I think that's pretty much all the relevance for Collingwood. Don't think we have any rookies. Titch, I think he'll just fall short of like the top 12, 15. Maybe he's around that mark. So, yeah, just not his job to rack up uncontested ball, unfortunately, for us. I think that's pretty much it. North versus West Coast. And I'm excited for one pick on the North Melbourne side of things, because there's a few sneaky things to pick up here. So in Logue Shields, is he playing? Oh, interesting. I thought he was more like a VFL player, as in like development, but it's interesting. And Sheasel in, Noah Long, Campbell Chesser, Hunt, and Kinby. So lots of relevance here. Lesser so for Jaden Hunt, he's more for fantasy, but nonetheless, looking at North Melbourne, Goda named off halfback. So it's interesting, they aren't afraid to use him a bit at half forward, which is why I had him as an avoid in my rookie guide. I think he could be good though, because he looked really good last year. Had a bit of an injury niggle in the preseason and didn't really set the world on fire. Didn't show a high level of accumulation in the practice games, but he did accumulate a bit last year. So he could be okay, but I don't really want to pay $190 for him, especially when there's a threat of role change. Keep your eyes on Tom Powell. So as soon as I saw Will Phillips out, so I should have mentioned that before, but Will Phillips is out on the emergency list. Will Phillips had 65 to 70% CBAs in the practice game. I think a lot of that is going to Tom Powell. He's a gun. His junior numbers are off the charts. And he was a rookie for us, and he reached 400k in his first year, or maybe he just fell just short. And he's had groin issues. About a year ago, I think he only started to get over his groin issues. So I threw him in my fantasy team really quick. I'm a big fan of him because I think the CBA is going to jump. It's a bit of a gamble because I'm not 100% sure, but they got LDU Turner on ball. I don't know what the hell that is. Powell, LDU Simpkin. Like, who else has gone through the midfield? Cunnington. They can throw like a Zerha. Is he even in? Zerha on the ball a little bit. You can throw Sheasel a little bit on the ball, but I think it seems like Powell's going to be top 3 CBAs for them. So yeah, I'm excited for that pick, and I didn't pick him in Supercoach, but it's a bit too late to pivot to something like that in Supercoach. But yeah, keep your eye on him. He's a gun. Sheasel named forward. It's a weird one because they want him with the ball and they can throw him around. They can throw him inside. They can throw him halfback. And he can win a fair bit of the ball, but I think there's going to be some good scores, and I definitely think there will be some bad scores. You have to remember, against the Dogs, 3/4 time, he was on about 30, so Yeah, they didn't throw him back. He was looking at a 40 score. Cherry Solo Rucking. So Goldie's emergency, which is bad because I bloody drafted him in the YouTube league, in the YouTubers draft. But Cherry can score. I think he scored well at VFL level. I guess keep your eye on it, but I don't know. I wasn't super impressed with him at AFL level last year, and his durability doesn't seem the best. Kind of broke down, and they had to play Goldie more, and they could always play Goldie a bit more. Now, is CCJ playing? No. Okay, so he's by himself. That's an interesting one. Might be a sneaky one for fantasy. Anyway, Will Phillips dropped. This one, Miller Bergman, I honestly didn't do research on this. I think he's been on the list a few years, 1 or 2 or 3. I can't remember. Yeah, I've just forgotten about that one. I think he's defender. Yeah, I'm not much use to you guys there. Sorry about that. West Coast. Cole is pretty cheap. Again, I don't know if they continue to play this chip mark stuff. No Elliot Yeo, maybe that helps Jaden Hunt because Yeo had some rotations at half back. So he could be one for fantasy. Gaff, Kelly, Chester. So Chester on a wing. I wasn't impressed with him, but I think they got a blood youth West Coast. I think they'll keep playing him. So he's bench only. I wouldn't put him anywhere near my field, but I guess against North he might be okay. Sheed named half forward. I wouldn't touch Sheed at all in any format. I just think he'll be pushed out the CBAs because he doesn't look very good. He doesn't have the attributes to stand up in the modern game, in my opinion. Oscar Allen's there. I think we've all kind of found better options than him. Noel Long, small forward. So you can actually rotate through the midfield. I did speak to AFL Draft expert about this briefly, and I think he doesn't mind him as a pick. So he could be one for you. Pretty young, 18, straight out the draft, but they did like him in the preseason. I think he was in line for a debut, they said, but I don't remember him playing in the practice games, but can't remember. So could be one for your bench. Probably worth doing more research though. Witherden's named, which is interesting. Probably not good for Hunt if you got him in fantasy. And that's pretty much it. Duggan, McGovern, sneaky options to score well, but probably too much risk associated with them. No Cully, no West, no Clark. Interesting. Maybe they give Ginby lots of on-ball time. Oh yeah, he's named on-ball. So yeah, lock him in on your field. Port Adelaide versus the Lions in Junior Rioli and Jason Horne-Francis in for the Lions. Boy oh boy, look at this. Dunkley, Ashroff, Gunston and Connor McKenna. Unbelievable ins. So looking at Port Adelaide, no real relevance in defence. Like Houston might always be around the mark, but not too sure. Bergman's looked really good. He looks like he's gone up a level, but you know, wingman, so not really relevant. Rosie half forward, not gonna worry about that. Butters full forward, like not gonna worry about that. And Horne-Francis on ball, so he might be a okay pod. I think 350k in the forward line, but I think people are gravitating towards Bruin in the forward line. Lysette, Solo Rucking, no Tiku or anything like that. Is there Finlayson here? No. Interesting. So Lysette will have the ruck to himself. They can use Dixon through there. No real relevance here at all. And then we'll go on to Brisbane. So Wilmot named at halfback, so that's pretty cool. But I think he'll play more wing. Who else? Okay, Tunstall's named as well. So he's probably sub-risk ahead of Wilmot. But yeah, Lockie Neal was speaking pretty highly of Wilmot the other day. He's on my field for fantasy. I've got to stop bringing up fantasy because this is a Supercoach channel. But I don't think he's the worst field option. I have both McKenna and Wilmot, and I will be fielding McKenna, and hopefully that goes well. Again, we saw with Cowan tonight, like the sub risk is quite real, but at least you get 3/4 out of him, and it's pretty hard to predict. Ashcroft everybody has. What else do we have here? Dunkley is a lock, and that's it. Fort, hopefully he's not a sub. I think Harry Sharp feels like a strong sub candidate. Fresh legs, like really high endurance guy. I could give him a bit of run and carry. Melbourne, so nice improvements to the list here with Grundy and Hunter, also Judd McVie and Bailey Laurie, also for the Dogs. Oscar Baker is in and Lobb is in as well. So they've lost McLean and Crozier, and then it looks like McVie's kept Hibbert out, which is a really, really good sign for McVie. He's not much of a scorer though. He's more of your lockdown. Like they asked him to lock down on Dusty, so I think the scores. I think he's got like the Neville Jetta role, and Neville Jetta never scored anything. So, but you look at this. I know there's one guy in our Discord that's picking Bowie. Shout out to Shaq, and you can kind of see why it's a little risky, but. Who the hell was rebounding here? It's Bowie, and they're gonna get all the kick-ins because May takes the kick-ins. So I don't know, maybe a sneaky one for like DFS or whatever if you do that. Yeah, an interesting one. So McVie, I don't have him, but I think he'll keep playing, so he might be a really slow burn. I don't think he's the worst option, but it is a bit risky. But yeah, Gorn was talking him up the other day. Has the DPP as well, which is nice. Midfield is pretty standard. So Chandler named on field. I think he's okay, an okay option. So they're missing. So Laurie can play forward and mid. So I suspect he'll play forward or through the mids to cover for Viney, and he's probably out when Fritsch comes back, I'd imagine. And then Viney needs to come back. Who goes out for Viney? Might be Chandler. Larry out for Viney and Fritsch. That's what it reads to me anyway, unless someone can see something. On that note, I probably wouldn't pick him then. Probably go Noah Long instead. I don't know, if you guys are seeing something different to me, then let me know. Brayshaw named on the bench, wouldn't worry about that. But he doesn't seem to get kick-ins, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets any with Salem and May out, although I think May's out for a few weeks and Salem's back maybe next week or the week after. So that's about it. Petrarca follower, it's pretty obvious. Looking at the Dogs, so look, Bevo is a master troll with team sheets, but Caleb Daniel, I think, will end up playing halfback. This is a similar setup to that they had last year. Interestingly, Josh Bruce has been named here. Jack McRae on a wing. So we'll try and figure out who's wing here. But yeah, the Dogs, Liam Jones names. I think, yeah, he's up to 40% owned. And then, yeah, Daniel, I think Daniel might spoil the party of Richards and Dale because they all share kick-ins and they mostly go to Dale and Daniel. I wouldn't be picking any Dogs defenders. It's a shame because I think Richards could be an option if there was no Daniel. And they gave him kick-ins. I think Cody Waitman just this week was saying that he thinks he'll be All-Australian and had taken the next step this year. Bont named in the centre. So Jack McRae on a wing. Who else is playing wing? Hannon can play forward. Scott can rotate on a wing. Baker can rotate wing. Can Johannesson go wing? Is he more forward? Maybe a defender can rotate on a wing a bit. This is sort of concerning because they had McLean play a little bit of wing. I don't know. I don't have McRae. I've got him in fantasy because I think, well, they're still going to run the same 5 players through the midfield. I can't see them shafting McRae that much. So it's not the fact that he's listed on a wing here. It's more the fact that who's actually going to get the most rotations on a wing here. Baker, I guess. Hannon plays forward. Baker and Bailey Williams. Maybe they rotate Treloar a little bit there and Bailey Smith. Oh yeah, Bailey Smith as well. Fingers crossed for no McRae wing, I guess. But I think he should be at least 60% mid, you would think. English is named. I wouldn't go there after his pre-season. And yeah, McLean not named. So could you go Josh Bruce? Well, I think the issue with Bruce is they can quite easily... Look at this forward line. Norton, Jamara, Lobb, Darcy. They can easily like sub Bruce off and send Darcy or Norton down back if this tall forward line isn't working. Obviously, like, they're a bit undermanned at the moment. They still got Lever, Thompson, Petty, so that's a pretty solid back three. But who's taking the fourth tall? Or maybe they just run them on the bench. I don't know. So I don't feel comfortable with Bruce, but if you know something I don't, then I guess you could take that risk. Last game of Saturday is Gold Coast versus Sydney. Ben Long named halfback, Constable named halfback, so tick for Constable. I think you just pick him on field, and hopefully he holds his spot, because I know Powell and Weller are back fairly early. Bodie Uland, I don't know. So we have a Gold Coast supporter in our Discord. Shout out to Spicer, and he says that his job security is poor. So I'm just going to take his word for it and not pick him. He's had a lot of injuries. He was injured all last year. But his junior numbers I think they were okay, like 24 touches, but that might have been Gold Coast or like Queensland, an EFL or something. So hard to read. Elijah Holland's on a wing. I think it's a bit of a shame. I think he should get some inside mid time. Swallow half forward. Flanders named at forward pocket. Not too worried about that. Obviously not ideal, but I think he'll get a little bit of on-ball time and play that high half forward role. If he's stuck forward pocket, then we're in trouble. But he's one if the role doesn't look great, I still give him 2 weeks, because he can seriously rack it up, and he's done it both times in his practice games. So I'll be picking Flanders. Jerome, ruck, solo rucking, no second ruck here. No Tom Berry, who was a rookie. Alex Davies on the interchange, and yeah, of course, Took is back. Looking at the Swans, completely unchanged list. Did we get no Roberts, no Sheldrick? So one of them could be sub, and no McAndrew. I guess keep your eye out for these two, because I think they are close to, if not base price. So they could be downgrades for us if they can force their way in. But you're looking at the defense, Florent half back, so he might get some kick-ins with no Nick. Oh no, Blakey is named. Thought I'd point that out. Mills on bowl, but you never really know what they do with Mills. Golden forward pocket. Well, Butters and Rosie are always named forward, so it's like whatever. Sounds like they will give him some mid-time, but the role always won't be perfect. So I'll pick Errol Gordon, and yeah, if you're anti-potting him, I respect that. Just because it's, you're going against the grain, you're trying to stand up for what you think is going to work and what's not. Or you don't see that him being, a top 8 forward or whatever. I'll be picking just because I'm frightened of the ceiling. So he's in for me, and yeah, so McAndrew not rucking, so they'll probably use McLean as the backup with Laddams, I guess, or Reid if he's not injured or whatever. Giants versus almighty Adelaide Crom. GWS, no new players, interesting. Finn Callaghan named on a wing. I don't know. I won't be picking him. If he's had inside time, then yeah, but it doesn't look like that's happening. Ash, Whitfield, and coming down back. I'm not too sure if one of them can be a top-end premium with all three back there. It's something I'll just wait and see. But if anyone is going to be the premium, I think it's Isaac Cumming. Sam Taylor, outstanding player, and Lekalia, hopefully he comes on because he showed some good signs last year. Ward named in the forward line, so it sounds like he's out of the mid-rotations, but if they do get an injury, I would imagine he gets some back. Kelly and Cogs on ball, so hopefully this 70% CBA role holds for Kelly. So at least this time with Josh Kelly, that I think the role risk won't be anywhere near as bad as it used to be, where the CBAs get shot to zero, because he literally has to play inside mid. They've got like a 4-man rotation. And on their bench, Perryman you think will play. I think Stone will play, and then 2. They haven't even named Xavier O'Halloran, so they have to play those 4 inside. So tick for Kelly. It's just durability, I guess. It's played 21-21 the last 2 years, so it's not terrible. But yeah, history before that is awful. Mighty Crom, Miller named half back. I wonder if that might take 1 or 2 kick-ins off Dawson, so not too worried. But yeah, missed a bit of footy the past 2 weeks. Miller out with personal leave. Don't have Dawson. I still think he's the main man there. He'll be a top 3 mid defender premium. Laird on ball, Berry on ball, Sloan on ball. Yeah, not sure who the third mid is. I don't really rate Schellenberg at all, but they're giving him every opportunity. Yeah, Hinge and Sloan. Good news for Dawson is I think he'll be predominantly down back because Hinge and Sloan I think are our primary wingmans. Siligo can go there as well. Keys will be more forward this year, it seems. Pedler I think is too expensive to pay up for in Supercoach. And yeah, Max Mickey is a defender rookie, but like a bit of a lockdown only and elevated price, so he's a no. Tyler Brown, I don't know where he plays, but it sounds like he's playing. Don't know if Phil plays or whatever, but yeah, it looks like Rob will solo ruck. I think we'll move on. Hawthorn versus Essendon, Fergus Green, Carl Amon, Lloyd Meek, and Cam McKenzie. And for Essendon, Wiedemann, Alwyn David Jr. and Will Setterfield come in. So looking at Hawthorn's side of things, so yeah, Fergus Green, lock him in at F7, and Cam McKenzie, lock him in on your field. Hopefully he gets decent CBAs like he did in the practice game. But I think, yeah, we're definitely struggling for rookies a little bit. A lot of them are a bit sketchy, and we already saw one go down with the sub risk, or with the sub, so I'll see how that goes. So Will Day named at half-back. He's a bit versatile. He can sort of play anywhere, so I don't love him for 360k. I think he's more of a stopgap, bit of a nothing pick, so I'd probably rather play like a McKenna on field, but yeah, just I haven't got enough confidence in Day to justify 360k. More named forward, so he's not getting a lot of mid rotations, it seems. Warple named on ball, so that's a positive if you have Warple. McGuinness named on ball. You would think he goes straight to Zachary Merritt. Looking at the bench, I think Reeves will play, I think Ward will play, I think C-Mac will play, and one, probably Scrimshaw. And looking at Essendon, so yeah, a lot of, where's Ambrosio? So he's like, I think he's the fourth defender, so they got, Kelly won't win much ball. I don't think Laverde will win much ball, but I think he can intercept a bit. Andy McGrath will win a bit of ball. So I think it should go to McGrath, Ridley, and maybe Redmond too. So yeah, I've got Ridley at the moment, not with massive confidence, but I think the role is going to improve, and there's a few pump-up articles on him. So, and the Essendon game style seems to be a lot of switching the play, which should help Ridley. See how that goes. I've got him at the moment, not super confident, but I think value, and we saw how important it is to push some of these rookies to the bench, and going a cheaper guy like Ridley can help that. Setterfield's an interesting one. Sounds like he's best 22, and they've been crying out for a big body midfielder since Joe Watson, and maybe he is that guy, so I think he'll be alright with Setterfield if you want to go for him. But is versatile, so they got Shield, Merritt, Parrish. You would think Setterfield's fourth, but it wouldn't surprise me if he makes his way up the pecking order. Alwyn David Jr., not the greatest rookie, but I think they'll give him every opportunity, and hopefully just makes 100, 120k or something like that. DPP and a bit cheaper is nice. And then on the bench here, you think Nick Martin plays, you think maybe Tipper plays, or Menzies, maybe one of the two. Caldwell, you'd think, maybe Snelling as well, I'm not too sure. Last game, St Kilda versus Fremantle. Cordy, Philippou, Caminiti, and Stocker in. O'Meara, Johnson, and Jackson. Okay, so these are extended benches, keep in mind. We'll go straight to St Kilda, so I don't think there's much relevance. Oh, there is actually. Few people hot on Wanganeen Miller. Not a big accumulator in juniors, but they seem to be feeding him the ball, so I think he could be an okay option, and you can swing him down back in round 6, so I think he'll make money. I think he's an okay option. Sinclair, no reason to start him, just see how he goes. I was not impressed with Stocker, like some pretty bad turnovers. Don't rate him as a footballer at all, so he's a no for me. Steele in the centre, that's good. Crouch, Hunter Clark on ball, that's an interesting one. And then Rowan Marshall is the sole ruck, it seems, but problem is they got Campbell on the extended bench, so we'll try and figure out who plays here. I think Windhager plays. Did they say Caminiti's playing? I think they did, so that's 2. Philippou will play, so that's 3. And then Do they need another defender? So maybe Patton. So maybe Campbell doesn't play. How many tolls they got? Like, they have none. Look at this. Zane Cordy. Oh boy. Phillips has to play as a toll. It's ridiculous. Oh, they got Caminiti as well. I don't think he plays, but we'll see. Find out Friday night. And looking at Fremantle. Defense is whatever. I guess you keep an eye on Hayden Young throughout the year. Will Brody looks like he's gone up a notch, so hopefully a big year from him. And 5 for forward. Seeing a lot of him picked in teams. Not for me, not for... I know he's a star and, you know, superstar, but full forward for the most part. I don't really want to pay 300k for a full forward, but he has an easy fixture, so you can see him having a few big games. Yeah, nothing wrong with the pick, but not for me. Darcy named solo ruck, which is good. Oh, they got Jackson as well. Wherever he is... Forward line. So in the first practice game, Jackson barely rucked. So that gives me a bit of confidence that Darcy will be the majority ruckman. And then looking at the bench, Sturt's a weird one. I don't know about his job security. Like, I don't know who plays here. Probably not Johnson. Maybe Henry's had a decent preseason. Honestly, I have no idea who plays here. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. So thanks for watching. I think I got to get through these videos a bit quicker. But yeah, they're the team sheets. All the best for round 1. And probably see you guys, I don't know, maybe I'll do some video on the weekend or something. But we'll see. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.